you've got arguably, the GOAT of the game at the moment there standing up in that 7 jersey.
I was ready to walk at that stage. I thought, God, you Titans, you beat us last week. You're rolling over like this.
It's not just a top 4, but now mathematically you're talking about, the likes of the Sydney Roosters that don't have too bad a run home, possibly pushing for the top 8.
DSPN, the Devlin Sports Podcast Network.
BLT Big League Tuesday. Let's kick it. Tony Kemp, our man, former Warriors coach, played his professional league, both hemispheres. I say this every week because growing up, me, my brother and all our mates, we just thought you should have played a hell of a lot more than 25 tests for the Kiwis, mate. What was your best position? Just quickly.
Oh, I guess I love starting at fullback. Enjoyed the centre, but I love 5'8", mate. I love playing.
Yeah, I thought number 6, I always thought you were better at 6. Because you had a kicking game as well. You could see a tough, good tackle, had a kicking game, good running game. All right, mate, let's talk about the Warriors to start with, because the last few weeks you've been very consistent with the same message that we've got to win the games that we should win. We should be winning the home games. We've just lost 2 in a row at home. And top 4 hopes are sliding as we speak because of that. And look, they're not bad losses in that the team hasn't been rolled over on, but the 2 games also that should have been won, I'll say, Tone.
Yeah, it's like watching a really good Group 1 race at the moment, isn't it, Marty? Like you've got these really good Group 1 horses behind you, just timing their run to perfection. And you just look at the way that Penrith... I watched that game
I did too.
They played on the weekend against the Titans and at 24-0. I don't know, you never back a team at halftime who are up 24-0 to lose a game, but this is one that they probably should have lost. And, without Nathan Cleary in that side, they don't get to extra time. But the strike power that they got and the way that they've won 8 in a row just shows you that their timing towards the back end of the season is exceptional. And as we said last week, when you said, well, what are you thinking about the top 4? And I said to you, give me another week. Look, seriously, it's not just a top 4, but now mathematically you're talking about, the likes of the Sydney Roosters that don't have too bad a run home, possibly pushing for the top 8. So you've still got, I think, 10 teams that are still in with a shout of the 8 mathematically. But the thing with the Warriors that a couple of teams, 3 teams behind them, are a point or 2 points behind. They go up against the Bulldogs, who got tanked by the Tigers on the weekend.
I watched that too.
Yeah, and you just, you're now thinking, well, the games that I should have won, you're now starting getting desperate that I've got to start winning these games back to back. And that's not a position you really want to be in if you want to stay in the 4.
Look, it's something you've talked about all season. You've talked also about not the first 10 games or 15 games, it's how you finish and how you get that momentum going into the finals. And so, when we hear that Jacob Laban's out now with a broken leg, I know that everyone has injuries, but these are really costly injuries for the Warriors.
Yeah, they are. And, it's a sad way to lose Jacob Laban. I think he's going to be he reminds me of a Stephen Kearney type player. He's big, he's rangy. Big shout out to the Randwick Kingfishers too for winning the grand final down in Wellington on the weekend, Marty. But yeah, look, it's the injuries, Marty. The season. A lot of people don't really put a lot of emphasis on injuries and luck. But when you're playing so many games in this competition, they do come into play. Like when you get the injuries, what type of injuries they are. You look at Sam Walker coming back for the Sydney Roosters in a way that he's pulling teams apart, at the right end of the season. So I say the Roosters are still a chance.
Yeah, they are.
You sort of can get behind the 8 ball, given the fact that, there are some real quality players, the Warriors sitting on the sideline. And Andrew Webster saying, look, we don't take that into context because, you've got the boys in the second grade New South Wales winning a massive amount of games in a row and players coming in and doing the job. But the problem now that you've got with doing the job at this back end of the season and not having your first choice players is that you're coming up against very good teams that are behind you and teams in the front like Canberra and Canterbury that lost in front of you that really need to win to stay in the 4 or potentially in Penrith's case to make the 4 and push for another final. So it's getting I hate to say it, but it's getting desperate.
It is. It is.
You look at St George won on the weekend. We've got to play them. Parramatta with Mitchell Moses is a totally different kettle of fish. Manly
they're still hanging around. Yeah, but they're still hanging around.
It could come down to the last game of the season being the most important game of the season for the Warriors, and that's not a position, like I said, that you want to be in.
But, on the good side of the ledger, plus side of the ledger, banked 12 wins already, okay, which is really important. So 5 games to go. I think top 4's out. I really do, because to get to top 4, normally 16 wins. They're not going to win 4 out of the last 5 games. I just can't see that. But, it's so important to, with a season like this, where they've completely overachieved. If they finish top 6, Tony, as far as I'm concerned, that's a big overachievement. We said at the start of the year, I was hoping for top 8. So I'm being realistic. Top 6 means a home final. And I think the Warriors deserve a home final. I'd like to see that. But I can't see hanging on to that top 4 spot. Not now that the Bulldogs lost on the weekend and got tanked on the weekend. And so they're going to rebound nasty this coming week. And that's just going, every game now feels almost like a quarterfinal or a round of 16 before the finals, doesn't it? That's how important it's becoming.
Yeah, and look, their form's been a bit sketchy too over the last month. So yeah, I don't see that as a negative, Marty. I think it's a good thing that they've got to go out and really back themselves to win all these games, 4 out of 5 going into the back end of the season. Don't get me wrong. I looked at that side on Friday night when they were up against it, the backs up against the wall of the Dolphins, and look, Roger Tuivasa-Sheck at the moment is
he was monstrous,
absolute beast.
Yeah.
I just thought, when you're looking at the players, you couldn't have asked for anything more, I think, other than one thing, which was take the 2 points with 4 minutes to go and push it out to 4 points that they were chasing. I know that Andrew Webster's taken this one on the chin, but for me, when I looked at that, it wasn't that Andrew Webster made the choice, it was that the captain didn't override the choice and make the choice for him. Because the difference between a coach sitting in a box and a captain standing on the football field, it basically said to me on the weekend that unfortunately, who they had captain on the side wasn't the captain. They need to look at
the captain was up in the box, was he right?
They've got to look at someone who can read the game. They were, I thought, on top. They were in the right field position. They were doing it quite easy. I know there was only still 2 points in it, but to push it out to 4 points and back yourself to get the kickoff. See, the other side of this coin is, we lose the kickoff, they score 6 points. Well, they did that anyway. Well, they got a penalty, got down there, scored 6 points. But you give yourself 50-50. If you get the ball back in that position, you put yourself with 3 minutes to go back down on their try line, and yet they probably get one more set to try and win it. So I just thought that they probably should have taken the 2 points when it came. I actually got up and went and got a cup of tea. I thought, he'll take the 2 points. He's a quick break. I'll go get a cuppa. And then next minute, he taps it and off they go again. And I'm just thinking, oh, geez, that's a risky take.
A lot of teams actually, I've noticed, especially over the last few weeks, how many teams are taking the 2? So many teams are lining up and taking 2 now, aren't they?
Yeah, because the competition is that close, there's 2 things here, Marty. One, if you're up with 24 at half time, you don't write the team off that's behind. Okay, yeah, so don't turn the tally off. Don't walk out of the ground.
I was ready to walk at that stage. I thought, God, you Titans, you beat us last week. You get rolling over like this.
I don't know what it is, whether they're evening up the score, the referees, or trying to make it more watchable on television, but so many teams have come back this year to either win it in the last minute or make a contest of it. And the second part of it is take the points. The competition is so close at the moment. When it comes down to it, how many times this year have we seen it being a field goal or a kick goal to win the game? Even when there's so many points in it, the decision making, you can go back to a point in the game and saying he should have taken that. Would have happened more than half a dozen times this year.
Tell you what, there is no player in either code that is capable of doing what Nathan Cleary did other than Nathan Cleary. And look, and I put the challenge out to the All Blacks, to everyone who plays rugby. I put this challenge out to the Warriors. You need guys that are capable of doing that. That move, Tony, for a start, he scampered 20 metres back, right? Then the pass had to come 20 metres, which was an incredible pass. He catches it by his bootlaces, and then he hits it so clean with the guy on his face. There's no one in the Warriors capable of doing that, which I just think is ridiculous. Why can't you just sit there every day and practice until somebody's capable of doing that? Because that is the difference. Without Nathan Cleary doing that, they lose that game. And, I look at the All Blacks and I think, we don't have a player in the All Blacks that's capable of doing that. Hitting it that clean. Yeah, and the only reason Nathan Cleary's capable of doing it, he wasn't born doing that. That's hard out ass practice is what that is. That's all that is, isn't it?
And it was, because he said that, in the post-match interview, he said, we practice for that. He knows he hit them really well. He was really dirty on himself because he hit 2 more after that. But there was one of them right in front, only 30 metres out, and he couldn't hit it that well to get it over and win them the game. So you're right, Marty. It wasn't that he kicked that goal in the past to get to him. It was how he set it up. He had a shot, he had the audacity to have a shot in the same tackle, and it went out that left edge. And as it went out the left edge, he started heading back because they got tackled in the middle. So he's obviously running back saying, "Get tackled in the middle and throw me the football."
He's called it, yeah.
And to think like that, the timing of it.
That's what Ivan said afterwards in the press conference as well. He said that this is what he said. He knew what was happening because they planned for this. And I'm just sitting there going, why isn't any other team capable of doing this?
Yeah, and well, you've got arguably the GOAT of the game at the moment there standing up in that 7 jersey. I just thought that they shouldn't have been in that position. I thought some of the Titans tries, for instance, Ivan would have some real queries around the defensive decisions on some of those tackles that the Titans made, because they were soft tries, soft busts, especially the way that the Panthers played in the first half.
But when you're 24-0 up, you're easing it.
Yeah,
I mean, it's just natural, isn't it?
And that's what I was saying. They're playing really well to get to themselves to the 8 in a row. But when I look at it, I go, well, shit, have they probably peaked? Are they coming back the other way when the teams are starting?
3 teams in the top 4 lost. Okay, and then the Panthers almost lost. That could have been 4 out of your top 5 teams losing with 4 or 5 weeks to go in the season. I mean, what does that tell us? Does that tell us actually that maybe the top 4 lock solid, you have to be in the top 4, and maybe that's not the case this year? Is that what it's saying, or is this just teams actually gearing up now for the finals and thinking, I'm going to drop a game here, rest some players here? Is it a combination, maybe?
Yeah, I think the way that the finals are set up for this top 4, given that you get a rest if you win your games at the top and your home games and back in your crowd, I still find it very hard to think that someone can win it outside the top 4. It's even harder now to think that Penrith won't be in the top 4, Marty. Yeah, so, like I said last week, for the Warriors, you could end up in any one of those positions below 4. You're 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th. Any one of those games in your first round are going to be a tough game. And for me now, the Warriors, they just can't focus on anything except the game that's coming up. They have to dig in those last 2 weeks. They should have won those games. Definitely should have got the Titans. The other problem, you've got to go to the Titans. They're playing some pretty good football. I was really surprised how quick everyone is across the board of the Titans. But yeah, it's just now, look, got to get Canterbury. They had a bit of a slump. I thought the weather played a big part in that. Was full of errors that game.
Wasn't it? That field was like something from the 70s, mate. Yeah,
but it's just not worrying about anything else. And then as you get your Fisher Harris type players back from injury and strengthen your side and come into those back end games, you can't look too far ahead. And 2 points for the Warriors at the moment is crucial, and they've just got to make sure that they're putting in, I think, that type of effort that they put in last week and hopefully be on the right side of the scoreboard at the end of the game.
DSPN.